Welcome to Tropico VR, where you rule with more than just an iron fist, you use your whole head. Strap on your VR headset and prepare to step into the oversized military boots of El Presidente. In Tropico VR, you're not just playing a power-hungry dictator, you're embodying one. With virtual powers comes virtual responsibility, and with a few virtual coconuts. In this review, we'll delve into the heart of the Tropico's virtual rendition. Where the sun is always shining, the political satire is ripe, and your decision shape the island's fate. Get ready to navigate this tongue-in-cheek political simulation where every head turn might trigger a coup. So, this is essentially a port of Tropico 4, but in VR. This is a good thing and a little bit of a bad thing, but let's get into what these are. First, let's start with the graphics, since that's the first thing you'll be seeing. They are terrible, actually. I don't know if you've seen the foveated rendering on that the PSVR 2 does for the sections you aren't able to see. Well, here that's all you see. Okay, I might be exaggerating just a little bit, but the graphics were really bad enough to take you out of the immersion. I really don't understand why, considering the maps aren't that big. Plus, I was playing on the Quest 3, so there should have been enough power. I don't need amazing graphics, but even matching to Cities VR would have been fine. That being said, it is cool that you can go all the way down to the NPC level and see your citizens as they speed past you to go to work. Just don't look at their faces when you're down there. I think the issue is the graphics can be good if they weren't so jagged and blurry. At times they randomly stop being that and look kind of decent, but most of the time they don't. Also, they don't appear to be coming out with an enhanced graphics update for the Quest 3, which is also disappointing. Alright, regardless whether the game's graphics are amazing or atrocious, gameplay is always king. So, how does Tropico VR stack up? Let's first talk about the gameplay itself. It is Tropico for the full game with all its DLC. Essentially, you have a choice of either picking from a list of so-called dictators that each have their own strengths and weaknesses, and there are quite a lot of them as well, or make your own and choose their traits. So, El Waqmangaming became the new Presidente of Tropico. Now, this game is a little bit different from other city builders, as you need to appease an international audience, namely the US and the Soviet Union. The big superpowers at the time. When they like you, they send you aid money, which you can use for buildings and upgrades to your island. But since they have opposing views, it can be a balancing act. Although I'm pretty sure my game got bugged since the US stopped permanently giving me any money no matter what the rating I had with them. There are other countries as well, like the rest of the world, such as the Middle East, Europe, etc. But I don't think they really matter since you don't get much from them, if anything. You also have factions to consider. The value of these changes often based on what you're focusing on. For example, things like capitalism is happy when you make money, but Russia gets upset because of capitalism. Which doesn't make sense because every country is trying to make money, aren't they? Money does become abundant as well, which allows you to expand faster, which is a great thing. Tropico also has natural disasters, which can be quite inconvenient, even though they look pretty cool. I had a tornado hit me and it stayed for so long. It looked really cool, but it went around destroying my buildings, which then I had to repair for money. Thank God I already had a lot. I believe you can also have tsunamis and other events. So that is quite interesting and can throw a wrench in your hard work. Talking about throwing a wrench, when playing the campaign at some point there will be an election, which throws off most of the relationships that you've built. Now I don't know if it was because I gave a speech or if it does all the time. However, it does give you time to build it back up. But you can rig the election if you feel like you're gonna lose. So exactly the same as our real world. I did win by a landslide without cheating though. Once you win the election, you've won that level. But if you want, you can choose to keep playing. The campaign is actually quite large, and each campaign has a new map and new challenges. So it can keep you going for a long while. The game is actually quite a lot of fun, and there's a reasonable amount of things to consider. Although, coming from Cities VR, it did feel a little lacking and a little disjointed since I didn't need to build essential things like a garbage dump, a fire station, or much at all, other than the basic things they told me to. And not to sound racist, but the immigration issue was becoming a problem where they had no jobs, so couldn't rent the houses I built for them, so kept making shacks, which I had to keep destroying. I felt bad for that, but annoyed that they weren't getting jobs. But overall, the progression didn't feel as good as it does on Cities, and it wasn't as intuitive. But I guess that's just Tropico in general. Now let's talk about the controls. I don't think they've done a great job with the controls. They are hard to use, and extremely fidgety. Turning is a hassle. Sometimes it does it, and sometimes it just doesn't. Placing some of the buildings on the map is quite cumbersome, but it seems to depend on which building it is. For example, the fishing wharf is awkward to place where you want, but then the farm is fine, as it locks on. I really didn't find the controls intuitive, but the main issue for me was the turning, which was unnecessarily complicated. Alright, moving on to the audio. I think the audio was actually quite enjoyable. The music was fitting, the voice acting I thought was well done.
A billionaire took an interest in our little island, Presidente.
If they were going for humor, which based on the theme of the game, it is. Plus, their excitement and enthusiasm when they say their lines was actually quite good.
Our plan for winning the Cold War needs to enter the next phase.
The thing that was missing, or there wasn't enough of, was ambient sound when getting closer to the people. Again, I'm having to compare with Cities VR. In there, when you go too close to the people, the sounds from the hustle and bustle gets louder, which I always found cool. It's not that important of a feature, but I do enjoy it, and I wish a Tropico had this as well. Alright, moving on to the VR integration and the performance. Other than the graphics, the game does perform reasonably well. Although you will experience some bugs. At one point I wasn't even able to press the X button until I got out of the game to the menu and then back in. And I'm sure the US not paying me anything for years was also a bug, but these are minor issues. But there are also a few comfort options for VR. Although as mentioned, turning is an issue, you can avoid the motion sickness aspect by just using the teleportation. I didn't use that, so I can't tell how well it was actually implemented. But the fact that it's there is still a bonus. Now, how much replayability and content is there? Well, as I mentioned before, there is a lot to this game. There are several campaigns, with each one having its own challenges and different maps. Considering one map will take you hours to complete, you have a lot of hours to spend in the game. This is a full Tropico 4 experience, so you do really get your money's worth if you're referring to the replayability and the content. So how is it in comparison to other VR games like this? Well, in comparison to other city builders in VR, personally I prefer Cities VR. I just enjoyed it more, and it seemed more streamlined and impactful, not as chaotic as Tropico, where things don't really follow a logical conclusion. But this is a personal preference. I do believe Cities VR did a better job at the VR implementation as well. But if you hate traffic management and still love city builders, then Tropico is perfect for you, as I did not have to do anything regarding the traffic. Overall, I think Tropico VR is a good game, and it definitely gives value for money. I was actually quite excited to play this game as I enjoy city builders for some reason. And I did play this for hours upon hours. Even though there were some frustrations with the clunky controls and the graphics being from the PS2 era and potentially straining my eyes, the game is a solid VR game for your quest library. The audience I would recommend for this is someone who enjoys the Sims and city builders, as it could be seen as a slight hybrid of that, or someone who just loves Tropico. To be honest, this is a game I can recommend if you enjoy this type of game. So overall, I would rate Tropico VR a 7 out of 10. Well, that's all folks. Let me know your score in the comments below. Well, thanks for watching. Have a great day, stay safe, and see you next time.
I have a dream of a better Tropico. A Tropico where there's food and homes for everyone. A Tropico with roads and factories and skyscrapers that touch the clouds above our nation.